Hey, it's Aaron Perrino from the Sheila Divine, and you're listening to Brews and Branding.
So, with that, what are you drinking today?
Unfortunately, Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Very good. Hey, we got to do what you got to do.
Oh,
I'm
it's a good summer chugger,
summer chugger. I'm having.
If I started IPA at 3 o'clock, I'd be done.
Well, that's if you're going to keep going for the rest of the night. That's right. So, all right. So, obviously, we know about the Sheila Divine and things like that. But do you consider yourself a professional musician first, or do you consider yourself, to give a little background, like I know you've worked in marketing and branding, which do you identify yourself as the most? Is that kind of like the side gig you do to make extra money and you're really a professional musician, or is it the
I'm
duality?
a I'm a failed musician who is just trying to make a decent wage
A failed musician?
by selling stuff through smoke and mirrors. So.
Yeah. So that's good. That's your smoke and mirrors. So, I mean, is that kind of like how you describe, like if you were to summarize branding, that you think that means to you, how would you describe branding?
Well, I mean, honestly, I got into the business through music, kind of. It was, when the band broke up, I was kind of like, what am I going to do with my life? I gotta, just like going to start a family. And I met this guy who's a huge strategic planner in that world, who's also like one of the biggest music fans, this guy, Gareth K. And, like we just kind of hit it off, and he's like, oh, you'd be an interesting, like you should be a strategic planner. And I was like, oh, at an ad agency, that sounds cool. And that's like kind of how and then he trained me, and like that's kind of, so I don't know that, I don't know what my perspective is, but that's how I got into it.
That's how you got into it. So when you think of like, how would you define what branding is though?
What brand? Well, I mean, it's telling the story of your brand in an authentic way, I think, and everything that goes around it to like make it different from another product or thing.
You said like an authentic way, like I always felt that was like probably one of the most important aspects is being authentic because people will see through bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, it's just trying to give people the true representation of what it is that you're, putting out in the world. I mean, you can brand anything. So it's
Right.
hard. It's like talking about something that if you're in skateboarding, it's like the search for animal chin. It's like, it doesn't exist, man. Skating, it's just a feeling. So.
It's just a feeling. That's interesting. One of the best ways I've ever had it described is branding is when you help somebody be um, the most like themselves that they can be. So it's the choices I make in my life, whether it's the music I listen to, the food I eat, the clothes I wear, the products I buy, that help me be myself the most. That's like really like, right? Like brand identity belongs to the audience, not to us as the branders, right? We can only like set people up. Excuse me. We can only set the stage for those things to happen. But really, like brand identity belongs to the audience, right? It's like how they identify with it. And I think that's where authenticity becomes such an important element, because if it's not authentic, it doesn't really resonate, right?
Yeah, I like that. I buy that.
You buy that? All right, cool. Good. So obviously you started your career as a professional musician, and that's kind of how you got into it. Do you think that your background as a professional musician helped you transition into that and like understand what people were looking for? Because obviously you're writing music that you want people to consume, and you're playing an audience in front of audiences. And if you got booed off the stage every night, you wouldn't keep writing the same song. So
Right. Yeah. No, I do think it. I think it. I mean, music is very humbling in like when you're trying to make it, like but also just how to promote your band. And I mean, when we started out, it was like, okay, where are the people who make decisions? And then we would like hang out at this certain club where all the people were, and then we make flyers and talk up the band and get people excited about it. Then booking the show and then all the things that go around it and trying to build sort of, your vision of how you want to portray it. So, yeah. And then I think, from a strategy standpoint or, brand planning and like understanding the consumer, I think, traveling all over the world and, meeting people all over the United States definitely, kind of gives you kind of a perspective
Your
into
thumb on the pulse a little bit. As
a lot of different kinds of people and, scenarios. So that was helpful, I thought, too.
Yeah. So that helped you in your professional career as a strategic planner, branding and marketing, is that perspective and that understanding.
Yep.
Do you think that compared to your peers of people in similar levels of experience and age that maybe you had, because of those experiences you had, did that give you like a step up or like just a different perspective or anything like that? Like especially in like youth culture and music and everything?
I mean, sometimes I feel like I know more on, the edge type
Like
stuff.
know what's cool.
Yeah. But I've always felt like an imposter in advertising, like, because it's kind of like, I didn't choose to do it. It just kind of like I fell into it. But I've always like, I'm always like a songwriter, but I really don't see myself as like I'm not a professional musician. But in my heart, that's what I am.
You don't see yourself as a professional musician?
No, because I don't make a living doing that. So I feel like I'm a hobbyist, and it's also it's a young person's game.
I think Bob Dylan might disagree with that, but
Yeah, you might be right.
I mean, you've released how many albums, like between Dear Leader and the Sheila Divine? I mean, that's
Like 11 or something.
that's quite a few. I mean, that's
I
certainly
mean,
professional.
I just did like a publishing deal, and so I had to like basically like give them my entire catalog, and it was like to wrangle that together. It was it was like 180 songs or something. So
Wow.
crazy.
Cool. So what's like the next step for you from like the business side of being a musician and a marketer and a brander and strategic planner? What what are the next steps you think you take in all those avenues?
You're catching me, like that's why I was like, I don't know. Like it's like only because like I'm unemployed right now, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, to be honest. I just left a company where my he was like one of my best friends. I was there to like help him kind of wrangle this digital agency and get different kinds of work because he didn't really like the type of work. He was bought out by a bigger company. Um, and so we started doing a lot of cool like augmented reality and VR stuff.
Cool.
And it was awesome. But that stuff does not pay. It's just kind of like fun, cool projects. And but he liked it so much that he decided to just leave the company and go freelance. So
Really?
yeah. So then I
Terrible.
had, now I'm like kind of trying to figure out what my next move is. So, and then COVID hit. So now I'm really, maybe I'll open a restaurant at this point at some
Oh,
point.
really? Open a restaurant. Is that, I mean, are you for real about that?
Kind of. I mean, honestly, like I kind of want to get out of advertising just because, I don't want to say like, I just feel like I've kind of went up like, to where I was like running global digital marketing at Converse. And once you get to that level, like there's not a lot of jobs or places you can go. And I guess if I, moved to New York or something, there would be plenty of stuff, but not really feeling that. So, and I'm
Oh,
really
that was
passionate.
loud.
Oh, man, sorry about that. So, but I'm really passionate about food and all of that world. That's kind of like what I spend my days doing now, right?
Yeah.
Currently. And so it's definitely something I've thought about doing. And I feel like where advertising is going now, it's just so I always felt like I'm on like this big idea person, much more on like the creative side. And I feel like advertising has definitely moved way more scientific, and
Yeah.
it's all about like, algorithms and A/B testing and, programmatic. And that's not where my heart's at.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's maybe like a line of differentiation between branding and marketing is marketing is very, statistic driven. Although our marketing manager here, Matt, he's a big proponent of data driven marketing as a farce. And he would argue up and down that, it's not as successful as people think it is. But ultimately, I think in branding, it really does come down to that emotional connection you make to people
Yeah.
where and maybe I went to school for art, and maybe the idea of branding feels like a little less icky than like straight advertising. Like advertising to me and marketing sometimes feels like that Mad Men thing where you're trying to convince people to smoke Camel cigarettes even though they're terrible for them. Whereas
Right.
like branding is like, we have an actual group of people that could benefit from this, and they just need to know about it, and we just need to communicate how their life would be better. And also, I mean, some of that comes down to
The
maybe
client.
picking and choosing the clients that actually,
Absolutely.
do good
And
things.
that's the problem, because in the big agency model, you have to take the bad clients because those are the ones with the money. It's
Yeah,
just like, we're doing this pharma thing, we're doing this like that's where it is. Whereas like, if you're like a small shop in Buffalo,
we're a
or
6-person agency, right?
yeah,
So we get
then
bigger
you
ones.
can do the local thing and really make a difference for like just local businesses. And I do, I'm actually, I mean, I can't really talk about it because it's not real yet, but that's sort of what I might be doing in Vermont
Yeah,
is trying to like be the big fish in the small pond.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. So are you gonna like open your own agency?
It's like a partnership
Somebody you
with,
can't mention.
yeah, that's why. Yeah. So,
That's fine. No, that's cool. So you're gonna open a restaurant, and then you're gonna use your marketing agency to promote your restaurant,
yep.
and then perfect.
Those are like, my two things is like, I've always wanted to do my own agency, and I've always wanted to run a bar.
It makes me think again, like back to branding. I think sometimes we as marketers and advertisers and branders, and if I want to lump all that together, we get a little stuck up on the idea that like, well, only we can do it successfully and people have to work with us. But then I see like sneaker shops or skate shops or tattoo shops or barber shops that don't really do anything, and they bootstrap themselves, and because it's bootstrapped, it's completely authentic, and they get really great following of people, and they do good work and they do good business, and maybe they don't grow into a multinational conglomerate, but they
Or you become supreme, and then you are.
right.
Uh, but it is, it is true. And I think a lot, some people just get it and some don't. And it is interesting. Like you think about all these like brands on Instagram where you're just getting like served ads for like some, cool shirt you saw or whatever. And it like, you go to the site and it's, all Shopify, but it's like super clean, and, you're competing against J. Crew.
All right. Yeah.
So.
So we talked about like how you used branding and marketing to kind of grow the Sheila Divine, and I'm assuming Dear Leader and other projects as well. Can you like dive into that a little deeper, like a little bit more about like the business side of being a musician, and kind of like what you had to do? Like, was that a huge drag to you to have
Yeah,
to do that
yeah.
part?
I have a good story, and it's like after we were dropped, and Kickstarter was just happening, uh, I was like, oh, we should try to make a Kickstarter album. And so, of course, I did it. I made like the little video. We're gonna like make this album, and the whole premise is we're gonna record it live in front of people. So just live stream making an album, and you can participate to help us make this record. And we raised like 13 grand. So it was great. I mean, cool. And we made it on vinyl. My cousin, who's in Portugal, the man, did the artwork. But then the business side of like fulfillment and all of that stuff it's awful. I hated it. Like where like I moved, so can you resend this? Like, and even on the latest record, we're doing the fulfillment, and like I had to go to the it was like around Christmas time. I had to go to the post office with my guitarist, and we had to ship out like 275 albums. And
Oh my God.
literally like, and like, I don't have stamps.com or whatever, but like the crowd behind us was like they got unruly
Yeah.
because they were like, each one, I thought it was like you drop it off and whatever. And they're like,
Yeah, do each one.
I mean, It took like an hour and a half. Like people were just like, I had a panic attack. I couldn't. I don't want to be that guy.
So you had to do all of your own fulfillment for all of that stuff. Like, I mean, like even in terms of like booking shows and things like.
I book the shows. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, not in. I have a booking agent in Europe, but anything in the U.S., it's like me. Just and I'm not. It's not that hard because like I'm not really touring. It's like I
Yeah.
come to Buffalo. I'm like, oh, I'd like to go to New York City, and the band now. The thing I love about playing music now, or when COVID wasn't a thing, was we would just like plan it around making like a fun evening where we will go to like a cool brewery or like it was all planned like we're gonna eat at this amazing restaurant and stay at this the
So when you
show
play,
like
so when you play at the Sportsman's Tavern, you have like a whole evening planned of like where you're going to eat, where you're going to drink, and
well Buffalo's not quite at the same. No, I mean for me like it's not like it's, but I mean like my family's there, so it's like that's like it's always an easy choice. But yeah, I do actually like. I mean, I do plan like, you know, my manager there is this, and like one of my best friends is this guy Rich Wall. He's kind of
yeah,
legend.
Rich got me into the show because the show was sold out,
Yeah,
and I text Rich
exactly.
was like, "Can you get me in?"
So like he's like but he always like makes the most amazing experience when we go to Buffalo. He's like, I booked you at Hotel Henry, and
Like the impersonation.
yeah, we're gonna eat at this place, and it's like it's amazing.
Yeah. So I mean, so that's like the operations of the band, but like, was it even like promoting the band and getting yourself on things like Spotify and
You got to do that.
iTunes and like you?
Yeah, we have to do that. I mean, there's like services, but yeah, I mean, being an independent artist, like you have to do all the legwork, and then
I mean,
and
even like T-shirt designs and album covers and like
yep. I
that's
mean,
all the promotional aspect that goes into it.
I asked friends for help, like my friend John, who is in Tugboat Annie. He like designs a lot of the t-shirts and stuff, and he's helped me with like making album covers and stuff. But yeah, you have to do all that stuff, and just the brand, like from a brand, just like the image of the band and the look and feel, and it's kind of it's always just sort of been my take on it.
So you guys do have a look and feel, right? Like it's clearly identifiable when you hear a Sheila Divine song. And is that just does that just happen naturally, or is that like purposefully, you
Yeah.
know, thought out and executed?
One sec, sorry.
No problem.
Uh, all right, we.
I'm gonna start that again.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Sorry.
the band certainly has like a identifiable look and
Yeah,
feel and sound, right? Is that something that's done on purpose? Like, I want to present this image of the Sheila Divine, and this is how I want us to be portrayed, or is that just something that happens kind of organically?
I think it's more organic than fake. Like you can't like from at least like from a music standpoint. I feel like I write the way I write. I may be like trying to ooh, I'd like to do something that sounds like The Cure or something, and
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that like has some intentions, but it's still pretty organic on that. As far as like the way we look and all that, I mean, I guess there has to be some calculation in it, but I think a lot of it is just your personal style,
Sure.
and then making the other band members do what you tell
Do you
them.
do you do you do that? Do you tell the other
No,
band members, or is it just like everybody like,
no,
I'm gonna
I
show up in my old T-shirt and a pair of jeans, and another guy's wearing like a button up.
I will say in the early days we were much more like adamant about it, and it was always like no shorts on stage ever. I think is that's a good policy,
It's probably good. Yeah, yeah. You want to
unless
look
you're
real.
in a specific kind of band. So
That's good. All right. So sorry, I've got a list of questions and things that I
yeah.
want to cover. So okay, branding and marketing influence your career as a musician. Did branding and marketing influence your career as a musician? So we talked about how your musicianship, your career transitioned into marketing, but did it also work the other way around? Like when you started to work in marketing and branding, did you look at your band's business differently?
Um, I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, to me, it's just it's hard to like. encapsulate what I want to say, because I feel like, the like factory records, like that totally shaped like the way I wanted to market my band, and the way like, Joy Division and like Peter Saville and like his design like that for that. But then when I moved to marketing, I always draw from music things like, oh, well, but I don't know if it changed it. I feel like digital just kind of changed everything, because
Yeah.
the interesting part for me is like when I started playing music, like I didn't have a cell phone, because they didn't really, they had them, but it was like,
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah.
then, there was no Facebook, there was no any of that stuff. So it was literally get in a van, have a tactile email list that you would get names, so that you could email people to tell them where, and then, by the time the band got to wherever, it totally
Would it
changed.
be easier these days with social media, do you think? Or do you think it'd be harder because there's so much competition, because everybody has an
Yeah.
Instagram page and everybody has a Facebook page and everybody's on SoundCloud? And
In theory, it seems like it could be easier, but I do think now, because, on GarageBand, you can like basically make amazing recordings where it like, you just like drag a drum track
yeah,
in and
yeah.
then go, that it's totally, there's so much more noise.
My next door neighbor is in a punk rock band, and he's a professional. He has a law degree, and he does, he works in a professional setting and everything, but then he's in a punk band on the weekends. And I think it's
Yeah.
really cool. And, they're on Spotify. So you can go and you can look them up and you can listen to them. And it just makes me wonder, like, how many bands never got even that far 15 years ago or 10 years ago, when some of that stuff wasn't around, or like, cause it would have been impossible for him to live that duality of like a professional life with a house and a girlfriend, and then, play in a garage on weekends and then produce you music and put it out there, because he
Kids
wouldn't be
are
able
so
to.
tech savvy now, though, like that it's like, my 10-year-old daughter knows how to, I mean, she's got her TikTok channel, and made,
Really? Wow.
yeah, and then made like,
She have more
she,
followers than you?
no, but she record like she made like a song. She did this like after school thing. It's like girls rock, and she made like a music video and had it on YouTube, and then like, like put it on SoundCloud. So and then as far as like getting on, Spotify, all you have to do is send $8 to DistroKid, and you can be on every platform. And so it's real easy to look official.
To look official, but do you think that would have, back to that question, would it have made it easier for you back in the day, do you think, to grow the band?
No, it was definitely easier back before, because when I was playing music, there was still like, you could get a record deal, and you could get a record deal, not, you didn't have to like be in New York City to get a record deal. You could be in like other cities and get
Like
like,
Buffalo.
and yeah, exactly. And then you could also, and it was more like get in the van, and because there was less digital noise, I don't know, people went out more.
Yeah, I mean, I
Now you
first
can,
discovered the Sheila Divine because of Rich Wall and 103.3 The Fox. Now it's 103.3 The Edge, but that was back in the day, and that's how
yep,
I discovered was radio. And now there's so many different avenues to find good music. So I mean,
yeah,
YouTube and
I think it's a lot harder now, to like actually like make it happen. There's like, even like getting like, it's harder to even get a show for me now, like, because there's just so many bands,
really,
so few places, and you have to plan like so far in advance. I mean, if I want to play in Boston, I have to like book it like 6 months in advance.
wow,
So,
that's
so
crazy.
I'm like, maybe the band will exist in half a year. I don't know.
So I have to ask, because I am a fan, like what are new projects? Like we'll deviate off the branding here a little bit, and now I'm just gonna take advantage of the situation and say,
Yeah.
like, right. So like, is it more Dear Leader? Is it more Sheila Divine, or what's?
Well, Jim quit the Sheila
Yeah.
Divine,
Yep.
just recently. So, and it's funny because I just decided, originally I compiled like all of my friends, and I was like, I'm just gonna do a band that's Sheila Divine and Dear Leader together. Just one thing, call it the Sheila Divine. But I don't think it worked. Like we rehearsed a bunch, and it just I don't know, it didn't work for me. So I'm breaking it up into Dear Leader and Sheila Divine. So I'm going to do both of them. I think I'm going to do a little bit more Dear Leader right now because that's kind of where my head's at politically.
Yeah.
I feel like
Is
there's a
that
need.
so that's interesting. Again, to make it branding again, come back. Uh, so it's like Sheila Divine, your outlet for more, like we'll call it like artistic music, and then Dear Leader is your outlet for more um, statement, I guess we'll say.
I don't know. I mean, I think they just are what they are, but yeah, I mean, because I mean, I feel like I've done political stuff in Sheila Divine as well, but Dear Leader just with the players and my guitarist Will is like super politically active. John from Tugboat, same thing. I just feel like it has like it's just a much more like socially conscious band,
Mm-hmm.
and I think TSD is just kind of like a more moody,
Yeah.
introspective type of thing.
Some more from Dear Leader. I mean, it does seem like an appropriate time to do, more politically motivated music because, seems like the world is burning and
Yeah, I mean, for a while I was like, because I mean, they should have been doing this years ago, but I was like, no, it was almost like it was too bad. Like you didn't want to hear more about it. Like you need to zone out because it's
yeah.
like it's already crazy. But I don't know. So
Yeah, I
maybe
think I waffle between, this is really important to me and I want to be conscious of it. Like we had big protests here in Buffalo.
yeah.
We made the national news. We were on the
Oh,
BBC.
I'm very aware.
And
Great
at one
piece of
point, I
work
mean,
you
we
got there.
had very loud vocal protests, not quite riots, but close to riots. 2 blocks from my house, from where I live.
Yeah.
So it hit home, and it was, there was a period of time where I think everybody needs to be socially conscious and be involved. But I totally also get the idea of like sometimes I need to tune out, and I can't. It doesn't matter what the next headline is on, you know, Reuters or BBC because I'm not surprised by it anymore, and I'm just exasperated all the time, right? Like
Yeah.
it's tiresome.
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel like I'll turn one on you.
Here we
Like how do
go.
you feel like branding has like changed under COVID, like working with your clients? I mean, have you had to like sort of
Under
evolve?
COVID, I don't think it's changed much at all. I think under the political thing that we have, I think it's changed. I think there's people that want to stay totally neutral and they don't want anything at all, and that's an easy place to be in, right? Those are easy clients to work with because it's just like, hey, this is what we do. It's like Gary Vaynerchuk, right? COVID happens and Donald Trump happens, and Gary Vaynerchuk has absolutely nothing to say about either of those things. He just plays it right down the middle. And there's clients like that. And then there's clients that say, no, we're going to take a stance one way or the other, right?
Yeah, we're not going to advertise on Facebook.
Right. Or we're going to be pro Black Lives Matter, or we're going to be very, anti Black Lives Matter, and we're going to take a stance. And,
I don't know if you want that client.
yeah, right. For the most part in our agency, most people have been pretty much down the middle
Yeah.
or left leaning, and we're left leaning as it is. We work with some progressive clients and things like that, and some community organizations. So that would kind of be our tendency, anyways. But has COVID really affected us? Not really. We do
Yeah.
a lot of work, frankly, with like manufacturing and industrial clients, and that's just the business as usual, right?
Yeah. No, I just didn't know, like, from a branding standpoint, if you had to, like, kind of change what you're talking about and, like, just change sort of.
I mean, we did make a decision that we would participate in things like the blackout of Instagram that happened, but we had to be really careful because there's a lot of well-meaning white people that participated in that then used the hashtag Black Lives Matter, and really what it became was white people silencing black voices
Yep.
inadvertently. And so we were careful and cautious about those things, but we try to be relevant and diverse and
Yeah, I mean, everyone's trying to, like, do the right thing and understand, and and definitely there's a lot more conversations that need to happen.
I disagree that everybody's trying to do the right thing. I think
Well,
that's one thing that's happened is that there's
oh,
there's
why?
certainly a whole bunch of people that don't give a
Hold on.
shit about the
That
right
was
thing.
wrong. I just meant like amongst. I feel like in the ad world, people are
Mm-hmm.
really trying to change, but a lot of, at least what I know from my girlfriend's in the biz, so I've been listening to a lot of her calls. But I just
Yeah.
think that it's everyone's trying to do the right thing, but they don't know what they're doing at times. So.
Well, and it sounds cowardly to say this, but you also have to worry about invoicing clients and having clients and making payroll, and because we support the livelihood of people that work here, and so that stuff does matter. But it sounds crass to say it, but it does. So, all right. Well, we got a little off topic there, but that's okay.
Right.
I enjoy the conversation. Any parting thoughts?
Anyone out there who wants to give me a job, I'm open to offers.
What are you looking for?
I want to work on something interesting where I get to create and showcase emotion and not be an algorithm or a computer decider. And I don't care if the blue button performs at 0.002% better than the red button. If the red button looks cool, it's just like, it's just certain thing. It's just I feel like it's just gone so far to the other side that
yeah. I'll tell you, I went to art school and I did oil paintings and nude figure drawings, and that was my life. Was like I was going to be a freelance artist, and somehow I landed in this. And it's a long journey and it's a long story, and it's not really relevant for this. But there are certainly times that we're doing the work we do, and it's like, man, like how did I end up here? Like, right? Like I align myself sometimes more with more of the art side of it, where it's like, no, I want to tell a story that's interesting, that like affects people in a genuine, authentic way. Like one of my favorite clients, one of my favorite projects we've done is we work with an art gallery around here, and we produce the catalogs for art shows that are brought to Buffalo. And I'm the owner of the business, so I have the luxury of like kind of cherry picking projects every now and then. And I'm like, no, I am going to do this one. I'm going to design this catalog. Right. And it's just like, it's pure art. It's art for the sake of art. And those are neat. And then there's projects where we helped a company that brought mobility to Buffalo, like through bike sharing. Right. And it's like, this is doing good for the community. Like this is an important project. And those are the ones that probably feel the best. Right. And those are the ones that probably.
Yeah. I mean, there's good and bad and all that. And but it's just, it is hard, I think, to find. I just find where it's going has become just so.
But where it's going is very analytical, and it's hard to find your place in that when your background is as an artist.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So, but I know you have to take the BS with it too. Of course, that goes without saying.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. So. Cheers to you. Thanks for being on. So I hope to hear of the Sheila Divine restaurant opening in wherever you're going to open it. And cool. All right.
And then, see you next time I'm in Buffalo.
Very good. Sounds good. Take care.